So we've got our oil housing here, our retaining housing here for the oil seal. We've got it bolted together. We cleaned it up a bit, got it pretty well cleaned up. And when I held this up to the light, I noticed that I could see light at each side here where this matches up. So we got out our trusty feeler gauge. We got 3/1000ths here. And it slides in there pretty good. Right in there. And also on this side. Not as much on this side, but this side, boy, it really gets in there. Even from the back of it, it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the retainer groove there, but we've definitely got a gap on both sides. So I think when we do the rope seal, we probably need to have it a little bit long or proud of the surface. When you put it in there, of course this is the one, you're going to have it cut it off at the surface here, and we want to leave it a little bit proud so that when we clamp this thing together with these two bolts, kind of mushroom that together there. We'll also put the sealer on here between these two halves when we put them together. But the first thing we're going to look at is the gasket that seals it to the block. Now, I looked for these gaskets online and I was unable to find them. Big surprise. I actually found one, and there's two of them because there's two halves. And I actually found one of them up in Rochester, which is the same place I got the felt washer from, but they only had one. So I put out some emails to a lot of the case dealerships around the US here, and I've been able to find some of these gaskets through them. They've got, old stock stashed away that they locate these things for me. But anyway, was unable to find this, so I ended up purchasing the entire bottom end gasket set, which has these gaskets. It has the new rope seals and virtually everything except the head gasket and up, and that is in a different gasket set. That's the upper end set. But they say that these things will fit David Brown, and that's pretty much it. It will fit them. One thing you'll notice is we have an extra hole down here. We have 3 holes instead of 2. So that's obviously not what we need there. Another thing, if we put this on here, we see how it puckers up there. So you push that down and it's puckering up somewhere else and puckering up. The problem is it's coming in contact on both sides here with this ledge. And so we're going to have to trim this back a little bit on both sides so that this will lay in here flat, because we really don't want it to, I want it to lay in here flat because I think it stands a better chance of sealing that way. So what we're going to do, that one's not bad. We'll put a little mark there. Take some scissors here and very carefully trim this off. Trim that off a little bit and we'll see if it lays in here any better. And it is quite a bit better. So expect when you buy these gaskets that you're going to have to alter them a little bit, we shall say. Now that lays in there a lot better. As we see, we're not puckering up quite as bad there. We'll trim out a little bit more. Now they are long also this way. So what you're going to do is line these up with your bolt holes, which there again, they're not lining up real well. So we put our bolts in here. And we want to put our gasket on the bolts because that's the important part. And see, we don't want it, it's riding up on here. So when you push that down, that's going to be in the way of allowing this housing to get up against the block and seal properly. So this side's not bad. This side I'm going to trim off a little bit more. And this gasket measured 12 thousandths thick. I don't know what the original gasket was. I'm trying to find that out. But the manual specifically states to only use the original gasket and not to use like a silicone or an RTV sealer on this housing. So by that I take that this housing has to be pretty flat against the block in order to do its thing. And see, we got a little bit more up in there. But it's just trial and error on these things. I remember some of the timing cover gasket that I had on there was like, what, 8 bolts in that thing, and 5 of them were right, and the other ones, forget about it. You had to oval them out to get them to fit in there. Which, you know, better to be too large, at least you can cut it down, than to be too small and, you know, nothing you can do about it. I apologize for, you guys probably aren't going to be able to see what I'm doing. It's hard to cut this thing, let alone hold it in a weird angle so that the camera gets it. Now that's laying in there pretty good. That's pretty doggone good. And I think what we'll do, we'll go ahead and cut this off here. And that way we'll know that this is the bottom, because this is the bottom of the thing. And that's not going to seal anything anyway, is it? And so that's the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this top one, and we'll get it to set in there, and then we'll come. So we're set up to put our rope seal in. I have these here. They've been soaking in oil for about 5 days. And I personally I don't see much difference in it being soaked in oil and the dry one that I took out. But I was watching Lance from Bundy Bear Shed. He did one on a Massey Ferguson, and he soaked them in oil. And he said that's what he always has done. And he's been around a while and done a lot, so we're going to take his lead here. And the thing you want to do is work these down into their groove. It takes a lot of force pushing on it and getting it into its groove. I will say that the oil does help it slide into the groove. Because I remember when I did this dry, man, it was a pain in the wazoo. I mean, it was difficult to get it in there. And we're just using a wooden handle on a hammer to put this in here and push it in there and force it in. Like so. I'll try to push it in a little more. I've got my soft jaws here in the vise. This is a couple of pieces of MDF that I cut, and I use them whenever I need to use a soft jaw type system. Make sure that it's all bottomed in there good. Like so. Now I will say it does go in a heck of a lot easier when it's oiled than when it's not. So we will go ahead and get our other housing over here and we'll set up for that. But you want to start in the middle because that's where it's got to bottom out at. And you're just going to roll this back and forth like we're doing here. And then we work our way up both ends. Like I say, this is a retainer that came off of an 885. I purchased it back in December of 21 when I had everything tore apart originally. I got it from Eastern Triangle. Oop. Knock you guys off there. Boy. Whew. Holy cow. All right, well. So now we're going to cut these off. Hopefully we can do this fairly simply. Like so. We are a little proud there. I would think of anything, we want to be proud at the open side. And then cut it back pretty much to the flush side. Like so. Does have a lot of oil in it. Does have a lot of oil in it. Okay. Use a razor blade to clean this up a little bit. Like so. Like so. Now, as we see here, and we've got it pretty good there on that end, both ends there. Bring the other one over and we'll cut it off, and then we'll see where we're at. Unfortunately, it's such an important thing. You know, it'd be one thing if you could just open up a door on the bottom of the tractor and replace this if it didn't work, but yeah, you can't do that. You got to take the whole thing apart and go from there. But with a little bit of luck, and maybe even throw in a couple of prayers, it'll seal. So this opened up. So as we can see here, we got a cord in there, that black cord, and of course all the rope around it. Which I don't know if these are made out of asbestos anymore or not, but the original ones were asbestos because that could withstand the heat of all the friction that plays into this thing. Apologize for the what I'm sure is a bad camera angle. Okay, so we will I'll take this thing over and bolt everything together and see how good it looks. All right, so we've got our gaskets set here. We've ovaled out a couple of the holes here so it'll better fit onto our pieces here. We also, of course, have the rope seal put in right here. And we're ready now. We're going to put these, we're going to glue these gaskets on or cement them on there. We're going to put these on here, and then we're going to trim these edges off the top of it. And what we are using, Permatex high-tech gasket sealer. Actually, this is Permatex high-tech gasket sealer. And it comes with a brush in the can. This stuff is a mess. It is a huge mess. I used this the last time around. Actually, last time on these seals, I used well seal. And not sure that it sealed very well, so we're going to this avenue. And we're going to put this on here. Like so. And we'll take our gasket. push it on here. Make sure that the bolts can go through, which they do. Then using a razor blade, hopefully, we will trim that off. Come over here to the other side. Same thing. Trim that off. Do the other side here. You see how stringy this stuff is. As I mean, it's quite a mess to use. It works really, really good, but I mean, it is a nightmare using it. It's like, man. But the manual talks about how critical the dimensions are using the proper gasket, thickness, and all of that. So the main thing is, I don't want to be so thick that for whatever reason the seal fails. Now, like I say, I used well seal on this the last time around, and I do question whether or not it's sealed. Shave that off. Come over here. Shave that off. All right. Our two halves should fit together like so, and our gaskets line up pretty good there, I think. We're talking these gaskets. Our rope seal looks good as well. So we will head back over to the vehicle and get set up to put this thing back together. So you want to polish the crank with some emery cloth. Now, the manual says to use some worn 320 grit. I'm just using 400 grit here. And all you're doing is just kind of rubbing this around to polish this up so that we get a nice shiny surface on it. Like so. And it doesn't take much because this crank it's really in good shape. Just like so. Look at this towel here. Come in here, wipe this down. coming out here. Now, I thought maybe the oil that runs out of this back of the block, I thought, well, maybe that was, you know, getting here, running down the block between the gasket and our sealer down through here, and then thus it wasn't sealing. But I really don't think that's it. I think that the darn rope seal part was leaking. Just after further review of it. So we're going to try this again. We'll see. Third time's a charm, but this is, so what you've got, this is your top piece. We'll go on like this, and then the other part comes in from the bottom and screws up in there like so. And what we're going to do, I gotta get me a rag here. Okay. Get me a rag here. Yeah, so the bolts will come in. So this is the top half. Fits on like so. And then the bottom half down here, that's where your cap screws are going to go through up from the bottom and screw into it. Okay? So what we are going to do is put a little bit of sealer on here. Easier just to brush it on the engine block here. This will be easier, cleaner anyway, than trying to put the stuff on the gasket pieces. And end up with it all over us, which that may happen anyway. We want to get a good dousing down in here. And all the way around. Okay, so we have to put these bolts in here. Before we put it on here. Oh, I know one thing I want to do. Put a little oil on there. Put a little oil on the crankshaft. Missed that. This is the oil that we had soaking the rope seals in. And we'll just coat that on there pretty good. Then once again, we put our bolts in here. Put these screws in here. Tighten these up. Tighten these up a little bit. Everything's all oily. And these things are hard to get going. Let's see where we're going. Of course, the upper ones will be easier because obviously we can see them and get to them a little easier. This little push into the housing there a little bit. Like so. I know, Beckley. It's hard work out here, isn't it, old buddy? Now this Permatex, it is a non-hardening sealer, which is what the manual says we want. So that's what we're going with. So we got all of them but one started in there. Ain't that the way it always seems to go? Yeah. So what they're doing is they're calling these the socket screws and these the set screws. So it tells you to tighten these socket screws. Bug. Which we will do. And then unscrew a half a turn. Which we will do. And we'll give a little more than that. And then we tighten down the 4 set screws, as they're calling them. This housing, of course, has to, that lip around it has to be pushed back into the block. Looks like it's seating itself in there pretty good. Tighten these. Like so. All the way around. With my oily hands. Now once we tighten those. So once we tighten our set screws, we retighten these. Press it down. Like I say, the different manuals have a different way of doing this. And we're supposed to loosen these. A bit, and then retighten. So hopefully this will seal our engine oil inside the engine where it belongs. We're getting pretty good gasket sealer squeezing out of that side, so that's good. Tighten those firmly. All right, well, that ought to do it. The crank does turn. Yeah, it turned pretty good, really. Cool deal. All right, well, oh, there we go. Heard the exhaust pop there. Okay, well, that should do it for the rope seal installation.